So, yes. So we're going to talk about introduction and then the history of space travel, just to get a lead up into what we're going to be talking about later. So, first, let's do some introductions. Who am I? Oh, I haven't updated this since my last class. Okay, okay, so previous classes I've taught of astronomy, quantum physics, anthropology, and then I also taught ecology. Let me just change that right now, I suppose. It doesn't really matter, but it bugs me. All right, now we're good.
What is anthropology?
Yep, so anthropology is the study of like humans, and so my class was more of a focus on evolutionary anthropology, which is like how did humans evolve into like what we are today. But anthropology totally like in like full is just the study of humans, because anthro is like the prefix for human, and then ology is apology is a study of like just like study of or science of. So yeah, just everything about humans. It could be like cultures, development of science and stuff, or like even like history at some people consider anthropology. So it's just study of humans. Oh, and this is yeah, I just have not updated this. Okay, we're good now. I'm going to be a senior at Wayzata High School in Plymouth, Minnesota. Anybody knows where that is. It's just a suburb of Minneapolis. Um, so I enjoy video games and board games, sci-fi, jazz, and then anime. I've seen my fair share of. My favorite is probably To Your Eternity. It's coming out right now. It's on like episode 14 or something, but it's pretty good.
Wait, what was it?
To Your Eternity. It's on Verve. I think it's also on like Funimation. It's on Crunchyroll. It's on most of the streaming services that are like anime streaming services. You should guys should check it out. It's really good. All right. And then also, as you can see behind me, I enjoy Star Wars. So, general class structure that we're kind of aiming for is about 7:05 is when class is going to start. Be in the Zoom before then. Don't join at 7:05 because I'm already going to be started by then, right? So if you enter at 7, then we can start sooner. So I just say we start at 7:05 to like take some stragglers in, but you enter the Zoom before then, and then we can start. So we've had trouble with that in the past, where people enter at 7:05, 7:06. I'm like already teaching, so it's just So 7:05 is when it starts. All right. Then there's going to be like lecturing roughly until like 7:50, 7:45. And then from then we're going to have a Kahoot. We're almost always going to have a Kahoot. So don't ask. We're going to have, so many people are like, oh, are we going to have a Kahoot? It's like, yes, we are. Like, I plan on having a Kahoot every time. So there we go. All right. So some, let me check chat because people are going wild here. And it's people just talking about. Oh yeah, I'm Central Time, so if you're in the Eastern Time, it's 8:05. Just push everything up an hour.
Me too. I'm also in Central.
Nice. Yep. So Central Time is where I live. I don't know. It's like good. I don't know if it's time zone is good or not, but that's where we are. All right. Anyway, general rules and stuff. This is pertinent to what's going on right now. Crazy. Yeah, please keep chat relevant to what we're talking about. And then also, please ask questions. So if you're ever confused about something, please just ask. I am very willing to answer questions. So yes, please ask questions. And then also another chat rule, do not be mean. That, I think, general life lesson, don't be mean. That's, I think we can all agree, golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated. So don't be rude, don't be a bully, just be nice. It's pretty easy to be nice. All right, then Kahoot, name yourself whatever, and then please don't ask if we're gonna have one. We're probably gonna have one. I'll specifically mention if we won't have one. And then cameras, if you're comfortable, please have it on. But if you don't like, if you're not comfortable, if you're just like really not feeling it, you can have it off. I don't really care, but you should have it on. I think it is an important skill to have your camera on, especially like, though I guess now it doesn't really matter that we're gonna probably go back to in-person school, but the amount of cameras that were off previously, especially during when like we were having Zoom school, is kind of concerning because like teachers where it's their job, you gotta feel bad because they're just teaching to a black screen. Like when we asked if all your blood went into your feet, you'd run very fast. Yeah, like that. Like questions like that, probably not exactly the most applicable to the class. And yeah, you would die. Like all the blood being in your feet is not. No, that's not how that works. All right. Class. This slide I remembered to update from my from the ecology. I'm on top of things, guys. All right, so first thing we're doing this right now. Crazy history of space travel. Wow, that's wild. All right, day 2. Then after that, we're gonna be like, okay, why should I care about what's going on with space travel? Then day 3 is gonna be like problems space travel. Some of the what we're running into with, oh goodness, that's pretty hard to do. Day 4 would be like the quote unquote near future, and day five would be the far future. And then I'm going to be talking about space travel. I'm going to be more referring to the manned missions rather than unmanned, because whereas we have a satellite, I guess I don't know, think it's not kind of a satellite. We have a probe, Voyager 1 and 2. We have 2 of them, like past Pluto or something. Right, so that's we're not counting that as space travel because like travel implies like humans are doing it, right? So all right, so now wait, I have to sneeze. Okay, no I don't. All right, so first like thing that we really got into space travel with, the space race, the very cool era, I suppose, minus the racism of the 60s and stuff, but like other than that, yeah, no, but the space race was pretty cool. So some of the early advances in the space race, which these were like late 50s stuff, rather than early 60s, so this is like 58, 59, and then a little bit early 60s. So Sputnik 1 was the first satellite in orbit, and so that was the kind of laid the groundwork for manned missions, because the main issue with like getting into Earth orbit, you gotta strap somebody to a rocket and get them up there. Well, let's do that with like not people first. I think that's a good idea we can all agree on. Like let's do it with like not humans. So that's why the USSR kind of did like with the dog, and I think some chimps were involved with like the US and the USSR. They were sent up in space first. The morality of that, we're not gonna judge, but yeah, they did that before humans. But then
Wait, did the chimpanzees die?
I don't think so. I think maybe like 1 or 2 died, but I don't think any. I don't know. Maybe.
Is this during the time period of the Cold War?
Yeah, this is during the Cold War. Yeah, so yeah, when I say like 50s, 60s, this is like 1950s to like 1960s. I guess I should, yeah, let's give some explanation of what the space race is. That is a good point. Thank you for asking. I just assumed people were familiar, but I should not assume that. So, space race. So there was during the Cold War, and we wanted to show how. And the Cold War, big thing was nukes. Okay, so nuclear weapons were giant bombs. Okay, now
Wait, I don't think they launched it, right? I don't think they launched it either.
we did not launch. We did some like orbital tests, but those were like we signed a treaty with the USSR to ban those because turns out testing nuclear weapons in orbit is really bad. Um, but yeah, so we did a couple and then stopped, but we never launched our nukes at each other, obviously, because we're still alive. But it's really like to show off our missile. Because how do I get a nuclear bomb from here in the United States to Russia without a plane? Well, I use a missile or a rocket. And want to know what's a really good like civilian use for rockets? Space. So the early space race was mostly the US and USSR just kind of saying, hey, yeah, I have a cool rocket that can send people to space. That means I can send my nukes to you if I wanted to. And then it was kind of just like almost like a weapon arms race, but for showing off our rocket technology.
Wait, so all of them want to earn bragging rights?
Say that again?
So they want to earn bragging rights?
Yeah,
Oh.
essentially that the space
No, they
race
want
was
to
just
make a threat so that they can blow up the other country if they want.
To call this entire thing bragging rights would be a gross understatement. This is
yeah,
like it'd
exactly.
be like you're in a like knife fight and then the other guy builds a gun.
Yeah,
He builds a gun in the middle of a knife fight. Wouldn't you just die?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Let's say he
well,
takes
that's an
out the gun.
analogy, but like,
Let's say he just takes out the gun.
well, no, like they were building the gun would be a better analogy because they
You
didn't
build a
have
machine
it.
gun.
They didn't have it at the time, so it'd
they
be
have
like
machine guns.
Then invent the machine gun. He's dead already.
no,
Anyway, I think we can explain. So yeah, so this is very much just like bragging rights to the extreme, most extreme level you could take bragging rights. Like the the USSR was the first people they launched Sputnik 1, and that was the first satellite in space, and that pretty much launched the entire United States space program. So we saw this happening and we were like, oh crap, people are gonna think the USSR is like the best country on earth because they launched a satellite. And we didn't, and so people are gonna think the USSR like won the Cold War if they continued this. So we launched our entire space program essentially off of this. So yes, very like bragging rights to the most extreme level. And so also to show off your missile technology, because like if you can get somebody to the moon, you can definitely put a missile in Moscow. Yeah, so after Sputnik 1, there was the kind of the Vostok program is what the USSR used to put people in space. They had cosmonauts, we had astronauts. But I'm just gonna say astronaut because that's easier so everybody understands. The first guy in space was by the name of Yuri Gagarin, and he and the first woman in space was Valentina Tereshkova. And so Yuri Gagarin was like 1961 roughly. And so we didn't get a person in space until 1963, which is quite the gap. Or 1962. I forget. It's one of those years. And then Valentina Tereshkova came in 1963. And she was, and then later on, like she, after being being an astronaut cosmonaut, she became a huge person in the Communist Party. So interesting fact. But then, so the Vostok program was hugely successful because they achieved their goal of like beating the U.S. into space. And then we kind of played catch up with the Mercury program, and then after that we had the Gemini program with like Ed White, and that kind of put I believe was in the Gemini program. I'm forgetting what the Gemini program did. I literally, let's look it up for everybody. I believe it was the moon, right? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So it's so Ed White was the first person to orbit the moon. And so the Gemini program was like the precursor to Apollo. And so there was a pretty big advance in that we were able to actually exit Earth orbit and get into lunar orbit, but we still didn't have the stuff to actually land on the moon, and that came with the Apollo program. So the Apollo program relied heavily on the Saturn V rocket, which is just an enormous rocket. It was and Apollo 11 was the most famous, like the thing that everybody landed on the moon, and all the stuff before that was kind of a preparation for that. And there were a total of 6 Apollo missions, and so I believe like 12 people landed on the moon. But then after that, our moon program kind of fizzled out once we.
What about Apollo 13?
Yeah, Apollo 13 also landed on the moon. I believe, right? Like, yeah. So between Apollo 11 and Apollo 17, sorry, my dog is in the background. Apollo 11 and Apollo 17 were kind of the missions that landed on the moon, and then after that, we kind of stopped doing moon missions because it was prohibitively expensive. Because every time we used the rocket, we had to build a new one. So
Wait, how come?
we didn't have any reusable rockets. So
That would have been nice if they did.
yeah, so that's
And
why
the
like
parts would fall off.
Yep. So the way they do rockets is that so there are multiple stages to a rocket, so they don't have to bring the entire weight of the rocket to the moon. So that there's like several story high rocket.
That would probably take a lot of fuel.
Yeah, exactly. So individual pieces will get you to a certain altitude and then it'll pop off, and then another piece will get you to another altitude and then pop off, and they do that. But so that's why they weren't reusable. But then that's why like the Falcon 9 and Space Shuttle program were so people are very happy with that because it was reusable. And so then there's a little speech that we definitely have time for. That is like one of the most famous speeches. Yes. Oh, maybe so. Okay, I'm hearing nothing. I'm gonna just continue it.
It's too loud.
It's too loud. Okay. Is that good?
Speaking in 1630 of the founding of the Plymouth Bay Colony, said that all great and honorable actions are accompanied with great difficulties, and both must be enterprised and overcome with answerable courage. If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. The exploration of space will go ahead. Whether we join in it or not, we mean to be a part of it. We mean to lead it. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. Our leadership in science and industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort, to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all men. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Yep, so the Sorry, I just lost my tab. All right, now, yeah, so that is like the most famous speech in like space kind of stuff ever. It was made. John F. Kennedy got assassinated in Dallas in like 1963, so he never got to see the moon landing. But he made, if you heard in the speech, he said, "We will get to the moon in this decade," the 1960s, and the moon landing was in 1969, so they made it. And to give like perspective at how big of a thing this is, my dad was like 6 when he saw this, when he saw the recording of like the moon landing. So he was born in 1963, so he was like 6 when he saw it, and he still remembers it vividly, seeing it. Like it was a huge thing. And so once Apollo 11 landed on the moon, and we essentially won the space race because there wasn't enough technology to get like to Mars or anything, and so the U.S. won the space race when we landed on the moon. It was
Wait,
a
didn't
big
they get to
target.
the moon first?
The USSR did not get to the moon first.
Well, didn't they send the first person to space?
Yep. The Yuri Gagarin was the first guy in space. He's the first person to orbit the Earth. Yeah. So they got like, and they got Sputnik. So the USSR got Sputnik and the first person in space, but we got the first person on the moon. So that was a lot more prestigious because it's the moon. For perspective, you can fit every single planet in the other planet in the solar system between the Earth and the moon, and still have a little bit of room to spare. So it's a long distance. But yeah, so it's pretty amazing that we got it. But and then also really quick, there was a question.
When you said that you could fit every planet in the solar system, I was like, but they already fit in the solar system.
Yeah. A good important thing to mention with the Apollo program and a lot of the NASA programs is the contribution of like women and especially women of color. So there was if you guys have seen the movie Hidden Figures, there was they essentially so we like to think about all the astronauts are like white men and all the famous guys of NASA are white guys, but there was huge teams of mathematical geniuses that African American women especially like that worked as computers for NASA that essentially checked a lot of the math and played a pretty important role in the all of NASA. And so despite having to live in like using segregated facilities and having to just struggle with a lot of prejudice that they faced. So I highly recommend the movie Hidden Figures for just some perspective on it.
Wait, how did Apollo 1 get caught on fire again?
Oh yeah, I'll get to that. I was just covering this really quick. So yep, so some space race tragedies, and unfortunately as everybody pushed to get to be all the number one in the space, they overlooked several things. And so there was a cabin fire in Apollo 1 that was started by just like an electrical fire, and then a lot of flammable elements in the cabin, like nylon and stuff, they caught fire as well. And so essentially these astronauts, these are pictured here, they died of like essentially because they ran out of oxygen from the fire. And then Soyuz 1, there was the parachute as it was descending to Earth failed, and so the little re-entry vehicle essentially became a fireball, and as it was falling back to Earth, and so the widow of the guy that died asked for an open casket funeral because it was believed that the leaders of that program essentially forced him to die because there were several known failures with the Soyuz 1 capsule, but they went ahead with the mission anyway. And so, like his final recording is in the minutes before he died, he was saying how the people in charge killed him. So it's pretty bleak stuff there. And then Soyuz 11 experienced a depressurization, and so essentially went during reentry, and so the guys died. Though it was more of a little vent failed, and so they died. I'm pretty sure a little more significantly more calmly than the other two, because it was more of a slow burn death. So yeah. All right. Then after the space race,
Wasn't there like one that blew up?
yep, that was not during the space race though. That was yeah, so that was the space shuttles, Columbia and Challenger both experienced failures, and yeah, so they blew up.
But for the Apollo 1, couldn't they just put on their masks or their
No, they would have they were in the they were not, and they weren't sorry, I believe it was a test or something, and so they weren't fully equipped with everything, and also those suits are not just like lying around. This fire spread very quickly, so it was not possible for them to get out.
Wouldn't they have died from the fire anyway?
Yeah, they also probably would have died just from the heat. So
I think the door was locked in Apollo once they couldn't get out.
maybe I forget the specifics. So. All right. Then the space shuttle and other space stations that were so this is kind of post space race, but it's not really the more modern day. So I just kind of put this with the space race section. So the like three main space stations were Skylab, pictured here, Salyut, and Mir. So Skylab was the American space station that functioned for a couple of years, I believe in the 70s, early 80s maybe. And so it was operated by a 3-man crew at a time. And then Salyut and Mir were the Russian programs, where Salyut was a pretty small like Skylab, and then Mir was a little bit larger. And Mir actually closed in 2001, so it functioned for a while. The Soyuz program was essentially the Russian program that is, I believe, still operating today, and it kind of just shuttles people between the space station and Earth. So even like the ISS space station, so it's been functioning for a while. Then the space shuttle program had Sally Ride was the first woman in space, and then Eileen Collins was the first woman to pilot a spacecraft or the space shuttle. And so that was from the U.S. And so those they were a pretty big step forward. So the space shuttle program is essentially, it allows the reuse of the crew module, as well as a little bit of a booster section. So there would be we'll pull up a picture here. Yeah, so here, as you guys can see this, so there'd be this little crew section here. Well, not little, but has a little bit of a booster section, and then a storage area. And so this orange and white boosters here would get the space shuttle up into very high altitude, and then they would detach, and then the actual space shuttle would then carry on from there to reach.
Isn't that a lot of like waste put into space?
No, they fall down. They don't orbit the Earth. They fall back down to Earth, like into the ocean. So.
I think they had to remove the spaceships, right?
How can they be sure that they will fall in the ocean?
Because they did a lot of math. Yeah, so the NASA, like, they can predict the movement of everything that's involved here. And so if they do their math right, they know what's going on, and so they can predict exactly what's going to land.
Also, ocean big, land small.
That's also true.
But that's a lot of pollution, isn't it?
It's not like that much because they usually recover it just to make sure they're not trashing up the ocean, but it's not
Doesn't some of the
reusable.
spaceship like burn through the atmosphere or something?
Yeah, and also there's a lot of burn up as it re-enters through the atmosphere, and so it mostly is destroyed, but they do, I believe, recover it. So all right, so I'm just checking chat to make sure I'm not. Yes, Richard, I believe they do. All right. Sorry, I was just making sure I wasn't missing too much in chat. And then the Buran program was essentially the Russian space shuttle. It went on like one mission or something. It did not really do much. And so it's not. And also the space shuttle program was retired in 2011. So yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. One thing about Apollo 11 is that today is Neil Armstrong's birthday. So happy birthday, Neil Armstrong.
Wait, today is?
Yeah, today. August 5th.
Is that why you chose today to be the first class?
No, I had a thing last week, but it's a happy coincidence. Okay, so now it's the more modern day stuff. So the International Space Station is like the most famous thing going on, right? And so the travel between like Earth and the ISS is used to be mostly done by the Russians, but now it's also being partly done by SpaceX's Dragon something rocket. And it's the ISS is a symbol of like international cooperation, and so there's almost always, well, I think there is always an international crew aboard the ISS. Usually it's like 2 Russians and 2 Americans or more, sometimes there's like Japanese or Canadians or Europeans people there. So there's quite a lot of international cooperation going on the ISS. It also holds a cultural significance because it's like a rather permanent fixture in Earth orbit, and so it symbolizes like our ventures into space and our how far we've come. And then it also has a pretty good research significance because when you're in microgravity like you are in the ISS, there's a lot of things that might not be possible on Earth that you can study. And one of the famous studies, the twin study by NASA. So they took Mark Kelly and Scott Kelly, both former astronauts. I think Scott Kelly might still be going, but so Scott Kelly was in the ISS for like 6 months or so, and then came down, and then they compared Mark and Scott Kelly, and to see what the long-term effects of living in space are. So the 2 twins, and so interestingly enough, Mark Kelly is currently a U.S. Senator from Arizona. So interesting. Ooh, birthday in less than 2 weeks. Nice, Eleanor. All right. Now there's also in the modern day.
Didn't Neil Armstrong die?
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh.
But it's his birthday. And then Buzz Aldrin is still alive. Wait, he might have died. I'm pretty sure Buzz Aldrin is still alive. I'm like very confident that he is still alive. Yeah, okay, good. He's still alive. I would have been so sad if I forgot that he died. Yeah, okay, Buzz Aldrin, it was the second guy on the moon, and he's still alive. All right. A very popular talking point right now is all the independent aerospace ventures. So there's SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic are the big like aerospace companies. SpaceX is run by Elon Musk. Blue Origin by Jeff Bezos. Virgin Galactic by some British billionaire. I forget exactly his name, but he's a really weird guy. And then So SpaceX is very famous for their like Falcon Heavy, Falcon 9 rockets. They're reusable boosters, not just like the space shuttle kind of reusable. They have reusable boosters. And so they're a big name in aerospace stuff right now. Then Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic are famous for their race to get to space first with Jeff Bezos and the owner of Virgin Galactic, both racing to be who was the first in space, while many Americans are facing eviction. So just interesting fact. Anyway, and then so those are like very
Virgin
popular.
Galactic is by Richard Branson.
Yeah, that's what his name is. But he's a very kooky guy. And so these are very famous companies because people think they're like the future of aerospace stuff because they think that government is bad, except like, and so they're like NASA's too inefficient, and it's like, well, NASA got to the moon, but whatever, that's political stuff. But like, yeah, so these are very popular right now because they can get to space. So then CubeSats are super cool. They are very small oh yeah, Viking.
Do you like space?
Do I like space?
Yes.
Yeah, I love space.
Me too. I like the astronomy part.
I like aliens.
Yeah, aliens are pretty cool.
Alien are weird.
All right, aliens. Yeah, I mean, you guys should have gone to the astronomy
There's
class.
always
I
like
mean,
these weird conspiracy theories that aliens are real, which they probably
Well-
are. But explain like the Fermi paradox or whatever that is.
well, there's numerous explanations of the Fermi paradox that we covered in our astronomy class. You should have gone.
But I wasn't here on our astronomy class. Wait, what? How long ago was that?
I don't know. It was like almost a year ago.
Well, then I wasn't here for that year. I joined like 3 months ago.
Yeah, you missed it. All right. Anyway, so CubeSats are like very small satellites that can run like pretty low cost experiments in space. And because they don't take millions of dollars, they take like hundreds or a couple thousand. And they're very, very cheap. And they can do some pretty cool experiments in space for people that can't afford like full on satellites. So they're really cool. All right, then we go on to current NASA projects. So the SLS, or Space Launch System, is pictured here. And so that is like the big thing that NASA's working on because it's going to carry us to the moon and Mars. And so they are really working on getting the SLS up and functioning. And so the thing that's going to bring us to Mars is the Orion spacecraft. And so they were going to kind of ride on the back of that and that's going to go conjoin with the SLS to be like the big spacecraft that's going to next step forward for NASA. The Artemis program is our NASA's going to go back to the moon by 2024, they say. So hopefully, maybe delayed a little bit by COVID, I'm pretty sure, but actually, wait, maybe. And so the Artemis program is aiming to reach the moon again by 2024, which is going to be really cool because we haven't been to the moon in 50 years. So.
Wait, we haven't?
Nope, there was like 1973 or 1971 was the last landing on the moon, or 1973, I'm pretty sure it's closer. So it's close to 50 years we haven't been to the moon with a manned mission to the moon at least. All right. Then Mars program, we all know we're trying to get to Mars. Elon Musk thinks he can do it by like 2025 or some interesting choice. NASA's aiming for like 2030 to get to Mars. So Hopefully we won't
Isn't
be
there
all
already,
dead from
a
global
project
warming by
that
then.
lets you,
How about you?
Mars?
Okay, I think you guys kind of talked over each other.
There's like this project that's going on that NASA's trying to get like a sample of Mars.
Oh yeah. So the current rover, it picks up little samples of like Mars soil and puts them in like a little plastic container and then dumps it. And so there's a future project for Mars for a rover to go pick those all up all the samples up and then deliver them to Earth.
Why can't you just send rockets there?
Money.
Elon Musk.
He
He
does not
can't
have infinite
afford
money.
it. Like,
Elon Musk
costs-
collaborating with the next richest person.
Well, the thing with those companies, in my opinion, is that they're companies, so they're trying to get a profit. And so if something's not profitable, they're not going to do it, right? So they're not going to do something just for the
Oh,
science
they're
of it.
greedy.
Well, that's the inherently what companies are doing, right? Whereas NASA is doing it just for the science, and there's an inherent benefit of doing it that is not necessarily profitable, but it might be profitable in like 50 years, but it's not right now, so it's not worth it to a private company, but it is worth it to NASA because they're not a profit-seeking venture. But we can get into that later. Anyway, Eleanor, did you have a question? Okay, assume the silence means no. So we're gonna go on. Wait, that's the so yeah, Mars program. They would think we can get to Mars by like 2030-ish. So yeah. Okay. Now is this the why I logged into my Kahoot? My dog is in the background again. All right, let me get the Kahoot up. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. All right. Oh, did somebody ask what it stands for? Yeah, Eleanor got it right. It stands for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, for those unfamiliar what NASA stands for. Let's see, let's do what's futuristic? Bad. Okay, we're not doing that one. Let's try 8-bit. Ooh, this is pretty good. Never gonna person give you up.
Can we wait a bit? I have to go and.
Yeah, I'm not gonna start until we get like more people than this. So. Okay, I think I'm gonna start it when 15 people join. So I'm just gonna, or 7:47, whichever comes first. All right, we're gonna start it. You can join in the middle of it, by the way. So you're not left for nothing. If you join late, you can still participate.
Why are there only 6 questions?
Because there were only 8 slides I could have asked about. Oh no, there were only 7 slides I could have asked about. Nice job, everyone. And I was not about to ask a question about space race tragedies.
If you could Sputnik 2, because I think 1 comes before 2, so I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
They probably were going too fast and looked at Sputnik and be like, "Oh my god, that's the right answer because it has Sputnik in it." And then they click on it, and it's like, "Oh my god, no, it's Sputnik 2."
Yeah, maybe. I've seen some discourse saying Sputnik 2 was first, so I just wanted to, in case people thought it was Sputnik 2 was first, it was Sputnik 1. So blank name gets first.
This one everyone should get.
I almost clicked on Lyden B. Johnson.
I had to click like my answer like 20 times because the phone wasn't working.
Oh jeez.
That's probably because you're spamming it or something.
Oh, maybe the phone's just not working. You never know. Nice job, everyone.
Maybe
John
get a
F.
new
Kennedy.
phone.
Did everyone get that right?
Everybody, 16 people got it right. All right, yeah. So the space shuttle was the one that was reusable rocket. It was a reusable rocket. Skylab was just kind of a space station, and then Buran was the Russian reusable rocket system. So
What was Mir again?
Mir was a Russian space station.
Oh,
So yeah.
I don't think we did this, but okay.
I did talk about this one.
Clicked the wrong one.
Yup. So the studying the twin study was like the big thing. I think they've done probably a little bit of the studying before and after, but it's not as scientifically rigorous because there are other variables when it's just one person. So you kind of have to use twins, to identical twins, that is, to know exactly what's going on. And so they had identical twins that were both happened to be astronauts. So they had one live in the ISS for 6 months and then one stay on Earth, and they studied what they were like after. So yes, and also if you care about the results, they were not pretty. A lot of muscle atrophy. There were bone problems, circulation problems. There was a lot of problems with long-term living in space. So not exactly the best for the future of space travel, but you know, we can work around it.
Guys, pick International Space Station. It only costs like $100. It's not gonna cost you that much.
The notable
My
low cost.
screen is glitching.
Oh geez, I don't know what how to fix it, but hopefully it gets resolved. Yep. So CubeSat is low cost device used for a CubeSat, not like the so Space Shuttle and ISS and Mir, they're all notably like not cheap. They're like prohibitively expensive. So yeah, not those. 20-point difference between first and second.
Wait, what's LO?
Io is a moon of Jupiter, I think, or Saturn. I'm pretty sure Jupiter.
For that, I think it's Saturn. Also, wasn't the answer 2025?
No, it's Io. Wait, really quick.
Jupiter,
Yeah, no,
see,
it's of
Jupiter.
Jupiter. Yeah, Jupiter.
Ah,
Okay.
I got it.
Nice. So yeah, so by 2024 is the moon. Mars is 2030. So just in like 3 years, NASA's hoping to be on the moon. So that's really exciting for like space nerds like me. Like whenever I look at the moon, even like now, I still like amazed how a human walked on that. So it's really crazy. So yeah, if the moon is by 2024, Mars is by 2030 or so, or maybe even later, like 2035. Ooh, Rick Astley pulling out the third, and then Never Gonna Give You Up first and second, and then Rick Astley in third. Trio.
It seems like a Rickroll thing. I
It
wonder.
is. That is hilarious. How it's never
Never
gonna
gonna
give you up, Rick.
give
How do you pull that
up, Rick
off? That's like
Astley.
impossible. Someone's gotta like answer before him.
That's hilarious how that actually worked out. Oh my goodness. I was not expecting that. Okay, nice job.
I think it would have been better if it was Rick Astley Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yeah, that was. I mean, what can you do? All right. Oh, whoops. Wait. Where did? Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm just gonna. Wait. A lot of problems going on right now. Okay, so let's see if I have it easily accessible, do it. No, I don't. Okay. So that is the class. We finished a little bit early.